Love's beautiful, but let's be real, it's not always easy. It can bring out our deepest fears, our strongest desires, and sometimes our most confusing patterns. Welcome to Love Better, a space for honest, soul deep conversations about relationships, attachments, and what it really means to love and be loved. I am Shasmin Bank, and if you've ever questioned why love feels so complicated, you are not alone. Let's unpack this together. I really felt that this episode was so important, and it's about the shame of wanting to leave a relationship and feeling like you're going to be judged if you have to leave, feeling stuck because you're financially fully reliant on somebody, and then also feeling like you have young children or you do have toddlers and you're terrified of breaking the family. I know that there was a different flow in which I was going to talk about things on this podcast, and I mentioned on my last episode that, this was going to be a completely different podcast, but I want to stay true to the fact that I've received so many DMs from so many of you talking to me and telling me that you're in a relationship, you know that you have to leave. This is not the confusion on, do I stay and make this relationship work or do I leave? This is a truly understanding you are in an abusive relationship physically, mentally, verbally, and financially, and you know you need to get out. And I wanted to talk on this because I just felt that, first of all, we have to let go of all this shame that we are in a situation that is so painful, so hurtful, and you don't want people to know you're suffering this way. There's that pain that, what if people know this is how I live? What if people know that the smiles I put out there, what I put out on social media, or just how I show up to my inner circle is not authentic to the truth of how I'm truly living in this relationship? And I really wanted to, first of all, address that there should be no shame. We need to have so many more of these conversations where people understand when the moment you realize you're in a dynamic that is not healthy is not necessarily the moment you get to just walk out and leave. Not everybody has the financial ability to walk out. Not everyone has the government backup to walk out in terms of giving you, support, like if you're in another country like the UK or America, where if you do leave, you get a certain amount. I know I'm from Kenya, and there's so many men and women suffering in relationships, and they don't leave primarily because they financially cannot afford to, especially with young children, especially if you've been lured into this relationship where leave your job, financially rely on me, I will take care of you. And when you trust that and you, sort of walk away from being able to earn on your own and standing on your own 2 feet as well, that's sometimes when the true colors come in and you realize now you're in a relationship where you are financially completely stuck on somebody. And that should not make you feel less than. There are so many people in a situation that are scared. There are so many people in a situation where they are miserable. There are so many people in a situation right now hoping to get out, but they don't know how to make that happen fast enough. So from the moment you realize this is not the relationship for you and you are being hurt in multiple ways, that's not necessarily the moment you just walk out. It takes courage, it takes strength, it takes time, it takes somebody's ability to let go of a dream, of understand the deep fracture of sitting in the uncertainty, the discomfort, of letting go of the hope this person could change. It takes you moving away your focus from trying to get this relationship to be what it could be, trying to suck out the potential of the relationship, trying to change who you are in so many different facets So the relationship can become easier to just live in, which sometimes means you become so submissive and you're in such an oppressive situation. And we need to talk about this more because there are so many people in this kind of relationship right now, and they don't have the strength to say, I'm done, I'm leaving. And for some people, when they do say that, they're mocked. Some people don't have the family backup. You don't get to just go back home when things are not working. You don't have the financial means or a job to leave to set you up. And for some people, they are working, but they don't have the abundance of finance to be able to sustain their rent and their food and their income, and probably a custody battle, and to deal with the fact that if my spouse decides to stop supporting me, man or woman, stops supporting me, I don't have my salary, my income will not cover the child, the food, school fees, a roof over my head, getting back to and fro with transport. So we need to take a moment and be able to pause, because the first win in such a tough situation like this is knowing you need to leave. That's the first win. The second place to be able to be is settling in that discomfort, and it is not easy. I can relate to you. I understand how hard this can be. So I want you to first of all know that you're absolutely not alone. There are so many people in your situation just with too much shame to go to the community and talk about something like this, because in some cases, in some cultures, in some tribes, you side with the male. In some cases and cultures, you side with the female. So there's just not a win-win. And this has people just lose their voice and stay in situations feeling trapped and like, this is it. I'm never going to be able to get out of such a tough situation like this. So I really wanted to talk today and be a voice for you, to just help you understand that it's okay to feel so confused and so distraught and cry and feel like I don't know what I'm going to do. That's okay. That's the first step to being able to figure out, what do I need to do? So what is the first thing you do in a situation like this? Well, the first thing I would tell you is to recognize that, yes, it's hard. It's tough. You are probably confused if you've got young children. It doesn't leave you feeling settled. And if you're in a situation where you're with a partner who's consistently cheating, I hate dropping labels, but if you truly are with somebody that is narcissistic and they very much know how to keep you in a relationship like that, they probably have full control over the finances. You're probably asking them for every single penny. They want to know where you spend all the money. They don't freely give you money to be able to spend it. They know how to control exactly what makes you happy and not happy. They hold the validation to your self-worth. So the first step I would say in this kind of situation is sitting in this discomfort and understanding this is what it is. And I know that I need to leave. This environment is not going to change. The person that I'm with is not looking to grow, does not want to go for coaching, doesn't want therapy, isn't out there watching videos or buying books or listening to podcasts to become a better person. Right now, my pleas for them to change, my begging of them to treat me better, falls on deaf ears. So the next step I'd tell you after you sit in the discomfort and the tough realization that this is the situation would be to understand right now you got a roof over your head, you got food on the table, and you've got somebody being able to financially take care of your kids. And I know for some people, even that situation is really hard. I know for some people, getting that food on the table requires you to beg them. And you might be sitting there saying, this is their child, but I have to beg them for money so I can cook to put food on the table for them to provide. So I know there's a multitude of factors around something like this, but I want to speak to the broad spectrum of all of you and be able to say, if somebody is financially taking care of you right now, that's one worry you don't have to worry about. What you do have to worry about is your safety. So if you are being emotionally, mentally, physically abused, who can you speak to? Who can you trust? Is there somebody in your family? Is there somebody in your community? Is there a priest? Is there a malim? Is there a sheikh? Is there somebody you can go to that you really trust that can hold authority over your partner? That your partner is scared to lose respect in their eyes? So, is there somebody you can go and explain your current situation and get advice from? Yeah, do you have your parents that are there to support you? Do you have siblings? Do you have really good friends that can just listen to you day in and day out, say the same thing with the same uncertainty? And yes, you know you do have to leave, but right now you don't have the means to do that. The third thing I would tell you is to start really taking all the energy and worry about the sadness in the way the relationship has turned out, the sadness in how trapped you feel, to be able to focus on your ability to know you are going to leave at some point, meaning you have skills, you have creativity, you have a genius behind you that you can turn into an income while somebody is financially taking care of you. What skills and hobbies could you list? Would now be a right time for you to consider working and getting out there again? And again, I can hear the voices of some people saying, what if my partner doesn't let me work? Well, now might be the right time for you to turn around and also test them back by being able to say, you can't keep me here indefinitely. I do want to work. Or maybe a softer, more clever approach would be, I'd love to contribute to the family. I'd love to earn because you work so hard. I'd love to take care of certain expenses. And so I felt that if I got a job, this would be able to contribute to the both of us. It's how you work and know how to sometimes work a narcissist and play their game right back at them. So getting them to relinquish that control over you, where you're able to leave the house, you're able to find a job, apply for something, because that alone is going to increase your self-worth. That alone is going to make you feel powerful when you receive some sort of an income at the end of the month, or whatever it is you decide to sell online or work with your creativity in whatever way that you can. When you start earning, something shifts inside of you. It takes you from being under someone's control, feeling like you're powerless and worthless, to being able to understand, even if it's a little bit of money, you can earn with a lot of hard work and dedication and time. You would be able to get yourself out of a certain situation. And listen, that's not in a day or in a week. That's okay if it's taking months. If you're getting physically abused, I would really, really suggest you speak to somebody, anybody in a high authority that can pull you, and if you have children, out of a situation like that, to really be able to get some help, because that's just not a situation you want to really try and work with the other person on. You don't know what their temp is going to be like. I don't know if alcohol is involved. I don't know what tough situation that could be, but I would really tell you to find your voice and speak to somebody that can come home, can talk to them, or somebody that can help you get out of a situation like that. Maybe recording what they do, recording their voices, their fights, just something you can capture to be able to assist you. If you're in a lower sort of a situation, which is not lower, but being abused verbally, being abused emotionally, them knowing that you really are trapped, I would really turn around and say that I would start to work on healing myself. I would take all the focus within myself, and I would start to understand that before I met this person, I was strong. I still am strong. Before I met this person, I looked in a mirror and thought I was handsome or beautiful. I still am handsome and beautiful. Before I met this person, I had powerful dreams. Those dreams have not gone anywhere. Before I met this person, the sky was the limit with what I wanted to achieve and do. And even if it was not this crazy career driven sort of a lifestyle, there was still something that pulled you. It could be your cooking, it could be, just anything small that you're so passionate about that you could go back into. I know somebody really beautiful who actually just started selling their food from home. True story. And they started to sell food from home so they could put food on the table. And that grew into a restaurant a couple of years later. But that was just consistent hard work and so much belief in themselves. They never went to a perfect culinary school. They didn't even graduate from university. This was just a passion with so many people that told them, we love your food, we love your taste. And in COVID, they started cooking at home and selling those meals. And who would have thought that years later, you'd be able to open up a restaurant and do something with that, with no business skills, but just passion. And then you learn as you go. So there are people out there that take things that aren't working for them, and when they focus on themselves and they stop fighting back and they stop arguing with the other person, they stop wasting their time on telling the other person how the relationship is hurting them or how it's not working. When they really start to focus on themselves, something magical does happen. That little magic is your heart and your mind awaken. They unite because you suddenly start to believe that you deserve more and you deserve to be able to get out of this situation. And there's no shame if it takes you a little longer. There's no shame if right now you're listening to this podcast and you didn't have hope when you started the podcast, but right now your mind's flowing with some ideas. You got to be able to write down what your skills are. What can you offer the world? What could you do that would probably leave you feeling excited to be able to earn again? And it's not about making the millions. It's about slowly building something that you can learn from and make the mistakes around, and then slowly keep adding value, monetary value to the service that you're able to provide, even if it means going back to work and getting that job again. If you're staying in a relationship because you are so scared and you're terrified about what the community could think, what people will think, people are not going to be there for you. They're not there for you right now. And I know it is so scary. I have been there. Terrifying to be able to reveal to people, where you are and what you're really dealing with and what you're really going through, because a lot of the times we want to save the other person. We want to save what we portray. It's terrifying for people to judge who we are, but my greatest realization is people are not there in your greatest difficulties. People are not there when you're crying. People are not there when you're being abused, except your closest friends, your closest family that listen to these stories and hold you and hold your pain with such tenderness. Those are the only people you need to be worrying about. And frankly, the only person that's a priority you need to be worrying about is you, your mental health, and your children's mental health in that order. Because if you're strong and you start to get a grip on your mental health and healing, very much, I would say, an anxious attachment style that can leave you stuck in a situation like this, tolerating a lot more than you need to, when you start to heal that and get strong and build towards being secure and find out what does it take to be someone secure? How do I play gray rock if I'm with a narcissist and not get involved in their games and them pushing reactions out of me? And instead, I'm now focusing on myself. That means I'm going to be a better version to be able to focus on my children. And I promise you, there are some people whose children will turn around and say, I respected you for being in such a tough situation with mom or dad, but I saw you do that with grace, dignity, and with pain. But you fought for yourself and you fought for us. You wanted better for us. Something I definitely want to bring to your attention as well is it's so important in a time like this to not go into isolation, because isolation is so common for what your abuser would want you to be able to feel. Very often they make you feel that your family, your friends just don't like us together. They want you to be on an island. They'll always say that your family and friends are probably against us. The worst thing about this is it has you cut off support, and it just reinforces your reliance on your abuser with no outside perspective. You don't understand how your friends or family would be thinking, their ideas, their opinions. All of that's blocked off. And so you very much have to take a step to understand that you don't want to be isolated, and you want to be verbally reaching out to somebody to be able to talk about this, because this also helps with getting rid of the shame. A lot of the times people don't realize is, oh, here, look, we have the sirens again. A lot of the times people do not realize that they're carrying a lot of shame that the abuser makes them feel nobody would put up with you. Look at how you behave. Look at how you scream and shout. Look at the fact that you do not work. Look at the fact that you're lazy. And they belittle you, and they have you believe that this is why you're stuck in a relationship with them. And they literally are the only people that could ever love you. And they have you feel that they tolerate you. So even when they cheat on you, it's almost like it's your fault. And you hold so much blame for a lot that goes wrong in that kind of a relationship. So you have to really learn to move away from blaming yourself for the state of this relationship. The false blame that you place on yourself, the false blame that they place on you, this is the right time for you to start holding more room for the fact that you are beautiful, you are perfect, you are a human being that deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. This relationship coming to an end, even if it comes to an end before you physically leave, is not any sort of failure on your side. And this is a very, very, very heavy topic. So I want to keep it as light as possible to just let you know that you've got people supporting you on the other end. And it'd be amazing to hear for some people that have gone through something like this and can share a story or a comment that can give support to somebody listening to this episode. And, somebody that has to break through a lot of the fear and the shame, a lot of cultural fear, a lot of society fear. What would people think of me? What would my family members think of me? Who am I letting down? I'm letting down my children. I'm breaking up a family, because this is probably something even your abuser has told you, that if you leave, you're letting the children down. I would have never done this. And they have you really feeling almost fully responsible for the relationship falling apart. I want you to be able to take your power back, and I want you to start realizing that the way that they behave, or the way the relation keeps you stuck, is not true. I want you to start saying things to yourself that when they put you down, or they shout at you, or they make you feel less than, I want you to start saying to yourself, that's not true. What they're saying is to control me. The way they're behaving is to keep me stuck. Whatever actions they do that hurts the family right now is on them. They are an adult. They're responsible for their actions. I'm going to be responsible for my reaction right now, because a lot of the times they're looking for a reaction. They want you to shout. They want you to scream. They want you to lose it, because then they can turn around and say, look at how you behave. Look at how the children saw you behave. They can go to your family members and convince your family members that you scream and shout in front of the children, that you're not somebody that has the sanity to be left alone with the kids. They're not explaining, of course, to your family the entire situation. Nobody sees that this is reactive abuse coming out from you. The frustration, you're fed up, you're feeling trapped. You keep quiet for long periods of time, but the suppression builds. And when you scream or you shout or you tell them off, that's when they become the most calm. And they probably would even record you to be able to show people, look at how you scream and shout. So it's very important you start to control your reactions. And the best way for you to control your reaction and gain your power back is by understanding they are not well. They are mentally off. They are playing a game of control that you've been a part of. And now you're going to step away from that and play gray rock, which is bored. which is just okay to them. You don't want to argue. You don't want to prove your point. You don't want to fight for your own justice with them because they're not there to hear it. If they believed in your justice or they believed in you being treated better, they would treat you better. They know exactly how they're treating you. They know exactly how to wind you up. They know exactly what your buttons are. So one of the ways to move away from the shame is to start building that self-confidence and the power. And that power is going to come the next time they come to talk to you a certain way or treat you a certain way or hold you down in that relationship a certain way. The way you would react before, you're not going to do that. You're going to now start getting clever and think about, how can I anticipate what is going to go wrong in this relationship so that I can anticipate what my response could be, not my reaction, what my response could be, which means I need to be very connected with my nervous system by just practicing deep breathing, understanding what could be triggering me. What does trigger me is me having to defend the right to my personality, to how I'm not wrong, to how they do make me feel. So very often you might go into trying to prove that you've been amazing, that you've tolerated so much, that you've stayed with them through so much. It's almost like you're trying to prove to them that you're this amazing person. They don't want to see that. They know that. They truly do know that you are an incredible person. And that's why there's a selfishness to not wanting to lose you. So I want you to be in a position to start teaching yourself how they treat me is not related to my self-worth. I am worth more. And for me to feel better means I'm going to start focusing on how I'm going to respond to all the scenarios that are going to come up today. You live with this person, you're in this relationship. If they're cheating on you, stop chasing them to prove to them that you know. Let it go. Stop finding the control and peace that you cannot teach them how to be. You do not need to prove to them what they're doing. You have new energy that's going into an exit plan. And that exit plan now means a lot of your energy needs to go into you leaving, you finding your strength, you reclaiming your life again, you working through the emotions of where you are, you finding the inspiration and empowerment to be able to move out of this situation because you do have that within you. And I really, really, truly want you to be able to know that you need to be able to find people in your community, again, that would be able to support you. I really want you to know that in today's episode, we've dealt with shame. And that's something that keeps so many people trapped in an abusive relationship. We've talked about why you could feel shame. We've learned that abuse is not your fault. Being exposed to that manipulation and the tactics of that relationship to keep you trapped are not your fault. We've looked at the cultural pressures that could make it so much harder to leave, and it's valid. And importantly, we have walked through how you can overcome that shame and find a plan for safety. And it's really important that you start to work that out in a journal, talk it over with a friend, somebody that you really trust that can help you with an exit strategy. And you have to remember while you're doing all of this that you're not to blame for the abuse. And most importantly, you are absolutely not alone. Leaving is really hard. It's one of the hardest things you're ever going to do, but it will lead to freedom and it will lead to healing. You have the courage within you, even if it's quiet right now. Even if you feel so stuck, I want you to know that there are 1,000 people, including me, that have been where you are. But there are people that have made it out and they've started from scratch, but they've made a life that they find peace in and they've created a safety for themselves. You can do that too when you are ready. And that's the most important thing. You don't have to rush out of a situation right now. You need to find how you're going to feel comfortable in this situation to deal with your exit strategy. And I want you to know that there will be an army of supporters that will be ready when you take that step. And that in terms of just being open to different communities about how you're feeling and the help that you could use. There's nothing wrong with asking. There's nothing wrong with letting people know that you're in a tough situation. The only way out is if people could support you financially in your family. There's nothing wrong with going back home. You're not going backwards. You're reclaiming your life. You're building strength. And sometimes there's no better place than to do that at a friend's place or to do that back home with your family. I really hope whoever's listening to this today, it's not about rushing to leave. It's about starting to lose the shame about the fact that you haven't left. And it's about losing the shame that you're still in that situation, because this situation is going to teach you to grow and it's going to make you so strong. I want you to remember that you are so loved, and I want you, as you listen to this, to just feel the tightest hug from me across this podcast. And I'm going to send you so much love and so much light to be able to get out of a situation as tough as this. You need to open up your own bank account. You need to start getting financially savvy. You need to start doing the things that you're scared about doing. And you need to start remembering that you're worthy of the life that you always dreamt you were worthy of. And this wounded person that could be abusing you and hurting you and cheating on you or keeping you trapped in this relationship, they are not the last person that has the word on your value. You call out your value. You know the pain you've been through. You can validate that pain better than anybody else can. And I want you to know you got this. Pull out your journal. Think about your exit plan. Think about the skills you have to offer. Think about opening up that separate bank account. Think about the fact that while you have a roof over your head, you have some time to be able to create a plan to be able to leave. And that alone is a blessing. But I want you to start watching how you behave. I want you to stop paying attention to them. I want you to notice how they react and how they're waiting for you to fuel their reaction. And I want you to step back and start enjoying that you're not going to do that anymore. I want you to start having wins and patting yourself on the back. And it's okay if you do get triggered, and it's okay if you do lose your SHIT. That's all right. That's part of your healing. That doesn't mean you're not doing the work. But I want you to start feeling a sense of power within you that's delicious and beautiful about how you can step out of this vicious cycle you have been in with this person, and you can now envelope yourself in the love and the dignity that you truly desire. And I want you to remember that love shouldn't hurt. You have to start to learn how to love better. Love yourself better. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of love. And you are worthy of safety. And safety resides within you. So until next time, please stay safe. I want you to take care of yourself, and I want you to remember that you are stronger than you believe. Thank you for spending this time with me on Love Better. If this episode resonated with you, share it with someone who could use a little more love today. Don't forget to subscribe so we can keep growing together. You can find me on your socials, Instagram at Shazman Bank, TikTok at Shazman_bank. And I'd love to hear your thoughts and really connect with you more. Until next time, take care of your heart and remember you are worthy of love that truly feels like home.